Khan Shalom Akim. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akim, spreading this truth and sincerity. Shalom. Salakia. So, in this video, I want to go into Acts chapter 6, which, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna use the mobile hotspot, from my other phone, to basically connect it to this phone, and then I want to go into the Blue Letter Bible because there's something that I wanna, basically, bring out. Let me see if it works. Yes. So, this is Acts chapter 6, in which the first part of, the chapter goes into the Grecians murmuring against the Hebrews, because of the distribution of the food. And it mentions Grecians, but in actuality, it's referring to, Israelites that just, adopted basically the Greek language, and culture, man. So this is Acts chapter 6, verse 1, and it says, "And in those days, when the number of the disciples were multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration." So when we, look at this for face value, we might think that it's referring to, actual Greek people, like the Greeks from those days. But when we do a little bit of digging, we will find out that the meaning of the word Grecians over there, in the Hebrew, Slakia in the Greek, Slakia, goes to, in the New Testament, consisting of the Jews that adopted, the Greek ways and the language. You see? So yet again, showing you that the Bible is written by Israelites for Israelites, and that salvation only pertains to the nation of Israel. So that's also what I want to do in this video. I want to show you a couple of things. First, I want to go into the translation comparison, if the phone permits. So, for instance, when you read the New King James Version, it says, "Now in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplying, there arose a complaint against the Hebrews by the Hellenists, because their widows were neglected in the daily distribution," which that went into the food. So, seeing the phone is not working too properly, with the specs that it has, because it's an old phone. Bear with me as I go through my other phone and look up the word Hellenist. Let me see. So this is the word Hellenistic, which is an adjective in the online etymology dictionary. It says, "of or pertaining to Greece and its culture, from Hellene and ancient Greek plus istic." It says, a little bit more down, it says 1650s Hellenist, one who uses the Greek language, though not a Greek. So in the context of the verse where it mentions a Grecian, there in the Greek, as I'm going to show you, it also goes into Hellenist. If I'm correct, it said Hellenistas, which goes into, Hellenist. But before I do that, I want to finish up the translation comparison. It says here, the ASV, "Now in these days, when the number of the disciples was multiplying, there arose a murmuring of the Grecian Jews against the Hebrews because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. So here it does mention Grecian Jews. So what would that mean? That means those were Israelites according to the flesh, whose lineage does go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But they were considered Greeks because of the culture that they adopted instead of the Israelite commonwealth and the language that they spoke. You see? Then the next thing that I want to do is I want to go into the interlinear. And by going into the interlinear, it says Hellenistas. Hellenistas. So it says outline of biblical usage, a Hellenist, one who imitates the manners and customs or the worship of the Greeks and uses the Greek tongue. So basically someone that, makes the Greek customs, his own. He takes it upon himself. Point B says, used in the New Testament of Jews born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. Which makes sense because during that time, which was called the Hellenization period, let me look it up. Let me see if I can find a little bit more on it. What happened is that when the Greeks got into power, which let me also just go to the Apocrypha to give a little bit of a better context concerning the topic, because we can go to First Maccabees chapter 1, and before I'm gonna read on, I want to bring out a little bit of information on the Hellenistic period on the Wikipedia, because it mentions in classical antiquity the Hellenistic period covers the time of Greek history after classical Greece between the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC and the death of Cleopatra VII in 30 BC, which was followed by the ascendancy of the Roman Empire and signified by the Battle of Actium in 31 BC and the Roman conquest of the Ptolemaic Egypt the following year, which eliminated the last major Hellenistic kingdom. Its name stems from the ancient Greek word Hellas, which was gradually recognized as the name of Greece, from which the early modern 19th century historiographical term Hellenistic was derived. The term Hellenistic is to be distinguished from Hellenic. In the latter refers to Greece itself, while the former encompasses all the ancient territories of the period that had come under significant Greek influence, particularly the Hellenized Middle East after the conquest of Alexander the Great. And where is the land of Israel located? Or let me say it like this, which, of course, the land of Canaan is basically the land of Israel, but like that region, which was referred to as the land of Canaan, which actually is a heritage, the land of Israel, that is located in the Middle East. So the Middle East has come under significant Greek influence, man. And I can read on a little bit more, but what I want to do is I want to, delve into First Maccabees chapter 1, because here it mentions that the Hellenization period happened after Alexander's death, which is also mentioned here in First Maccabees chapter 1. Salakia. Right now I'm on my break, making this video, so I want to make it, like quick before my colleagues come back from the supermarket. Which, we have like in half an hour in total, so It says, First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. So this is referring to Alexander the Great, which Alexander the Great, in a very short amount of time, was given a lot of land which he conquered, by the will of the Heavenly Father Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But it also made him very proud. Verse 4, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander was, at the point to die, and the land which he conquered, he eventually distributed among his, closest friends, which, those were generals, man. Which those were Ptolemy, Cassander, Lysimachus, and the other one I don't really remember again. Ptolemaic, Lysimachus, Cassander, and let me look it up. The four generals. I should know this by mind. The four generals. Yes, Seleucus. Oh, there's one more, Antigonus, because there was a battle going on between them. But the majority one was Antigonus, Cassander, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and then you also had Lysimachus. So it basically was 5. So yeah. Reading on, it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So what happened is that after Alexander died, and the kingdom was split, evils were multiplied in the earth, man. That's why Edomites are, the wicked upon the earth. So now we established that, something happened after Alexander the Great's death, which was the distribution of the kingdom. But now I want to go a little bit more down, where, like a decree was made at a certain moment of time. This is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws, so that all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. So what happened is that Antiochus, the fourth Epiphanes, he how you say that, he put very harsh laws, upon the people, man, because he wanted the whole kingdom to be one. You see, and he told them to leave their laws, and basically follow the laws of the Greeks. It also mentions that a lot of the Israelites consented as well to this religion, and they began to sacrifice instead of to their Heavenly Father Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, or back in those days Yahweh, because Yahweh Shai was not yet revealed or manifested. They turned from the Heavenly Father Yahweh to these idols, man. Profaning the Sabbath. As we're going to find out, it goes on. It says, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and the festival days. So our people, some of our people decided to follow the ways of the Greeks. Why? Because they was peer pressured, man. If you read the Second Maccabees, you can read about atrocities that have been done, to this mother with her sons, man. You know, trying to force them to eat basically pork, and them denying that, but then they have to pay with that with their life. Um, Reading on, verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable, with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. So not only were the parents targeted, but eventually it trickled down to the children. So once they would by force adopt the ways of the Greeks, after generation upon generation, there would be Israelites that would forget about them being Israelites, man, but would think that they themselves are Greeks. Why? Because they adopted the customs, but also adopted the language. Um, Verse 49, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit every one that forsook the law, so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, and wheresoever they could flee for succor. So there were also those that didn't want to adhere to it. They fled, and was looking for help, a refuge, basically. Let me just read on, man. Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Casluv, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burned incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burned them with fire. So our people was not allowed, to worship Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, or to worship Yahweh. Burn basically, the Bible, man. The manuscripts, the scrolls. Verse 57, whosoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law of the king, if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Basically a mass persecution, man, upon our people. To the intent that they was, willing to give up their ways. Now the 25th day of the month they did not sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. You see, so for doing the right thing in the sight of the Heavenly Father, these Edomites came against us, man. Verse 62, howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they ready to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. And there was a very great wrath upon Israel. You see, so this is what happened to our people, man, which did lead to the Hellenization upon our people. People forsaking the way of Yahweh Shem Yashai and adopting the way of the Greeks. And there's one more thing that I actually want to look up, and that is Antiochus Epiphanes. And the Israelites. Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes. This is Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes, was king of the Seleucid Empire from 175 BC until his death in 164 BC. Notable events during Antiochus' reign includes his near conquest of Ptolemaic Egypt, his persecution of the Jews of Judea and Samaria, and the rebellion of the Jewish Maccabees. Let me see. It says, quote unquote, let me see. It says Jewish tradition. So Antiochus IV is remembered as a major villain and persecutor in the Jewish traditions associated with Hanukkah, including the books of the Maccabees and the scroll of Antiochus, which we don't deal with that one. But it says rabbinical sources refer to him as the wicked. The Jewish Encyclopedia concluded that since Jewish and heathen sources agree in their characterization of him, their portrayal is evidently correct, summarizing this portrayal as one of a cruel and vainglorious ruler who tried to force on all the people of his realm a Hellenic culture, the true essence of which he can scarcely be said to have appreciated. Josephus writes in Antiquities of the Jews, describes Antiochus IV desecrating the second Jewish temple and renaming it the Temple of Jupiter Hellenius. Antiochus the fourth is also described by Josephus as executing anyone performing Jewish practices or in possession of Jewish texts, in addition to circumcised males. So this man was really forward in that, man. Like, really want to push it, man. And that was all orchestrated by the will of the Heavenly Father, of course. But that's how a lot of our people, forsook the ways of the Heavenly Father. And through that, our people became, like we could read, in in Acts chapter 6, and of course throughout multiple occasions, in the scriptures, being referred to as Grecians, man. Let me see if I can find the word Grecian as well in other places. We go down. Two more instances, X 9 and 29 and X 11 and 20. So yeah, but those Grecians, damn, Strong's definition didn't even go into that. It says a Hellenist or Greek-speaking Jew. Crazy. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to go in this video, man. Because back then, at first, you still had, of course, that enmity between the Israelites that knew that they was Israelites and the Israelite foreigners. And that is something that had to fade over time. But through Yahushua, like it mentions in let me see where it is. This is Ephesians 2 and 14. For he is our peace, who was made both one, and had broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace. So Yahushua took away the strength of the law, so that nobody could boast about it, but that the only way to receive salvation, and everlasting life, was through faith and belief in Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushua. You see? So he took away that strength. Verse 16, and that he might reconcile both unto the Most High in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby, and came and preached peace to you which were far off, and to them that are nigh. So here it talks about Yahushua making peace, right? And making, both one, which is referring, here again, when we go into the NOT, it mentions, the Gentiles, of course, but we know the Gentiles sometimes refers to the actual heathen, But also you have Gentiles that refer to Israelite Gentiles, which are the Israelites in a Gentile state of mind. But when we go to Acts chapter 10, verse 36, because, we have to look towards the peace that was being mentioned. Acts chapter 10, verse 36, the word which the Most High sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Yahweh Shai, he is Lord of all. You see, so the peace that is actually given is given to the Israelites, man. Whether it mentions, Grecians, Gentiles, in a certain way, if it refers to salvation, it's referring to Israelites, So yeah, with that, I do hope and pray that this video was edifying. And with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And shalom to the sincere Akim spreading this truth in sincerity. Shalom.